Good morning, Professor. And my topic is the development and evaluation of S.A.F.E Uvc sterilizer for using medical masks. The outline is start with the introduction, result objective, summary of method and results, discussion, and end with the conclusion. So because of the shortage of the respirator, masks become an intensified concern to healthcare professionals, and the filtration efficiency of N95 respirator is considered to be sufficient for personal protection. Because recently in 2020, Matsuyama showed that the actual size of SARS coronavirus 2 is about 150 nanometers, while the aerosol particle from viral is around 1 micron. And the filtration efficiency of N95 is about 0.3 micron of the test particle. However, the CDC recommends two strategies to reuse N95 filtering respirator with extended use without decontamination by putting on the plastic bag for 5 days, or reuse with decontamination by the UVCI that show the most promising potential methods. However, when you decontamination, you should consider these 5 parameters to retain aerosol filtration efficiency, maintain breathability, germicidal ability, structural integrity, and the safety. So why the UVCI is the most promised method? UVCI is to use UVC to decontamination with a wavelength of 200 to 280 nanometers by the photochemical reaction and absorbed by uracil of INA virus at a peak of 260 and type mean for DNA virus of 265 nanometers. By the way, they can cause skin symptom rarely and can cause photokeratitis and respiratory effect from ozone production if the UVC light source emits less than 240 nanometers. And the dosage at 2020, Koski showed that a varying of D90 value that mean of 308 Joule per mass square. And in April 2020, showed that the successful UVC dose to the activation of SARS coronavirus 2 is about 10,000 Joule per meter square. That aims to 4 to 5 log reduction of SARS coronavirus in all soiling conditions. So the research objective is to develop the UVC sterilizer box with friendly, affordable, fair use, and effective and safety in order to reuse N95 during COVID-19 situation without loss of its protective efficacy. And the methods is start with the UVC germicidal alarm cabinet and the radiometric performance testing, and also the decontamination study and respirator test. So start with the first one. We produce the UVC germicidal alarm cabinet made from the cold rolled steel sheets and coated with hybrid powder paint inside and outside, and put in the low pressure mercury type discharge lamp in the upper and the lower, and so also have the operating counter time setting, and the safety of function would be co-operate system or the crossing. The next one is the radiometric performance testing. We also trace the spectral powder distribution and related parameters, integrated UVC irradiance, short-term instability of UVC irradiance, and the safety testing of UVC leakage and ozone production. And this performed in controlled environmental conditions. The first one, we use the standard spectrometric instrument system, measure the emission spectrum of UVC source. And results show that the peak wavelength is about 253.89 nanometers plus minus 0.6 nanometer. And we also measure the integrated UVC irradiance in each 9 sub-areas by put the UVC sensor in the facing up and facing down fashion. And this is the result of the UVC irradiance that had very values. At the maximum UVC irradiance is in position P5 by facing up the sensor about 17.9 watt per meter square, while the minimum of UVC irradiance is about 6.56 watt per meter square in the area of P9. And we also measure by the the CAS140CT544 standard spectrometer to measure the instability of UVC irradiance at the center of the UVC germicidal alarm cabinet for 1 hour by this instrument also. And the instability showed that in 1 hour of monitoring, there are less than 6% instability after turning on immediately and less than 1% after turning for 6 minutes. So the warm time is approximately 7 minutes. And for basic safety testing, we measure by the radiometric and the UVC sensor to measure UVC leakage, and also use the ozone monitor to measure the UVC, the ozone production at the center for 1 hour. So this is the instrument. The results show that there are very low irradiance around UVC germicidal alarm cabinet and show no ozone production within 1 hour of the operation. Once we develop the UVC germicidal alarm cabinet and also test the radiometric performance testing, how about the decontamination study and the respiratory test? We start with the calculating an exposure time for decontamination and screening and selection of N95 during COVID-19 situation last year, and decontamination study, and also do the respirator test. For the first one, as I mentioned before, the target UVC dose that I use is from this study that aim to 4 to 5 log reduction of SARS coronavirus. The dose is 1 joule per centimeter square or 10,000 joule per meter square. Then that we have measured the UVC irradiance in each 9 subs area, but for the maximum one is at position P5 by the sensor up, 7.1 watt per meter square, and the target UVC dose is about 1 joule per centimeter square. That the calculated exposure time at the maximum UVC irradiance is about 10 minutes. By the way, when we calculate it by use the minimum of UVC irradiance at position P9, the calculated dose is about 3,678 joule per meter square. And then we go to the respirator test. We put so we screening and selection N95 filtering fast-pitch respirator during COVID-19 situation last year. That quite hard to find the model. And we get just 4 of the respirator models that not pass the test, including of the 3M particulate respirator at 110S and 95, the 9001V KN95, and also the protective mask from China KN95, and additionally the 9002V 3M KN90. And this show the respirator inside and mid-side layers of the N95 that not pass the test. And also we use the particle filtration efficiency and calculate the percent filtration efficiency. That you see that there are all of the results less than 95% for the N95 and KN95 and less than 90% in the KN90. So for screening and selection of N95, the last one that can pass all the respirator tests is the 3M Aura Healthcare Particulate Respirator 18070 plus N95. So this is the SEM image of the inside and mid-side of filtering fast-pitch respirator models that we use. And this is the control calculated percent filtration efficiency that the value is about 98.3276. To decontamination study to evaluate of the UVC germicidal alarm cabinet, we put the respirator model, 4 of respirator model, by the 2 at the maximum point and 2 at the minimum area. And we test by the observational analysis, scanning electron microscope, and particle penetration count and percent filtration efficiency. We inspect the visible sign of change and degradation and unfavorable odor smell. And for a scanning electron microscope, we punch off the 3 layers and use the meso and answer layers using the scanning electron microscope with the quantum 450 from FEI. And for particle penetration counts and percent filtration efficiencies, we use the SALE 3100 portable L1 particle cover from Lighthouse and calculate the percent filtration efficiency by this formula. For the results, when we put the respirator in the UVC germicidal cabinet, there should no physical change of the material by each decontamination up to 12 treatment cycles and no detectable of any unfavorable odor smells. For the scanning electron microscope, there should no significant change up to 10 treatment cycles, both of the maximum and minimum UVC irradiance. And at 12 cycle, the mid-side of respiratory model studies totally falls together, both maximum and minimum UVC irradiance. And at cycle 15 and cycle 16, the distortion and fusion become obviously totally damaged. So let me show the picture. This is the image comparison of the mid-side 100 magnification and 10 and 1000 magnification of the mid-side comparing with the control in each cycle. And as you see, the fiber of the respirator coupons start to change at the cycle 12 at the maximum UVC irradiance. And also at the minimum UVC irradiance, you see that there are some distortion and fusion together and totally damaged at cycle 15 and 16 respectively. And this is the inside 100 magnification and 10,000 magnification, comparing with the control in each cycle at the maximum UVC irradiance and the minimum UVC irradiance P9 also. The next one is to test particle penetration count and percentage filtration efficiency in each cycle. This is the average initial particle count of the environment and post-UVC exposure at the maximum in the orange one and at minimum in the gray one. So you see that the difference of the initial particle and for the post-UVC decontamination. So this picture more clearly that we have the percent filtration efficiency compared with the baseline, and the orange one is the post-UVC decontamination at the minimum UVC irradiance, and percentage filtration efficiency compared with the baselines of the post-UVC exposure at the maximum UVC irradiance show that this is the percent change or the difference that compared to the baseline that has significantly dropped at the cycle 15 to cycle 16 of 8.11% at the maximum UVC irradiance and just only 1.75% of the post-UVC minimum. So the UVC germicidal lump cabinet and radiometric performance testing show that the main single wavelength that emit in the UVC germicidal lump cabinet is 253.7 plus minus 0.6 nanometers that intersect of the DNA or a near absorption curve.
You should finish in around 2 minutes.
That curve is below the peak of absorption, but still remain of the decontamination. By the way, in each 9 sub areas, the lamp positioning and the role of internal reflection because of the coral sheet and cold hybrid powder pension no effect or help the reflection. But the maximum UVC irradiance is about 7.9 watt per meter square, but in the minimum is just only 5 to 6 watt per meter square because the P5 area is the nearest UVC light sources. And the UVC germicidal lump cabinet show the safety with no ozone production and the UVC leakage. And they can obtain the germicidal log reaction between 4 to 5 log reduction. So it's recommended that the N95 should be placed at the center. However, at the position P9 that I mentioned before, that they have the value of 3000 463.01 Joule per meter square. That still above the D90 values. So this is the average particle count that had different in each cycles. So for the association between us hello ค่ะยังได้ยินไหมคะ
ยินครับ
ได้ยิน
Okay, so I skip to the conclusion for percent filtration efficiency. There should no effect by UVC treatment until 16 cycle at the maximum point that go to significantly below 95%, above 90.007% with 8.11% change compared with the baseline. So the suggestion is to decontaminate N95 at the center of UVC germicidal lamp cabinet for 10 minutes per cycle and repeat up to 10 cycles with a losing of physical property, mass structure, and filtration efficiencies. But however, the limitation of this study is that various individual parameters which we cannot control and out of the scope of our study in the real life usage, and the aerosol filtration efficiency in this study possibly better than real life using, because the stretching, tearing, and deterioration time by time, and the elasticity of the respiratory coupon and strap, also the strength test should be considered after decontamination. And there are some lack of N95 model number, a limit results of equipment during COVID-19 situation. So the prospective study with more model of N95 are required. Strength tests and elasticity tests of respiratory coupon and strap are recommended. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, it's time for questions.
Yes, one question, please. Okay, hello.
ค่ะได้ยินค่ะ
Yes. I think your topic is very interesting and is very relevant to this period of time, since we have epidemic of the COVID-19. My question is, when we compare this technique, you mean we have in terms of cost and time consuming and personal consuming, it will cost a lot. And we have some other means, like we may use gas like ozone, to replace this. Is it worthwhile, or in comparison to these two techniques, which one is more easier or more advantageous?
Okay. So for your questions, I would like to expand that we use the ultraviolet germicidal irradiation for many decades, and the benefit of to use the UVC to decontamination is very safe. That I mentioned that if the UVC light source less than 240 nanometer, they can lead to the ozone production, and the ozone that can cause the respiratory symptom, respiratory effect. So to use the UVC is better in terms of the side effect or the complication that can be happen. And also the gas vaporized, they can emit the gas that can lead to the bad smell. And when you use, you should go outside the room that use this kind of equipment. So to use UVC sterilizer box, they can measure the target UVC dose that can definitely kill the germs at the dose that you targeted. And also you can stay in the room and not go outside, and no ozone production that can lead you the respiratory symptom after that. So I think it's still very worthwhile, and we can use for many years for decontamination with no side effect from using this equipment.
Okay.
Okay. I have one question. Previously in Thailand, we try to re-sterilize a lot of disposable material and instruments, but sometimes we found that to buy a new one is cheaper than re-sterilization. do you have some study about the cost of re-sterilized respirator mask?
So I have the comparison table to the other UVC germicidal cabinet, but in the other that available in the market for home use or easy to use, should it made from the UVC LED that can be the very smaller in the size, but for UVC LED can, because of the small of the size in the market, they cannot put the N95 respirator. That this is the aim of my study to decontamination the N95. And the market in Thailand should it usually be a UVC LED box that because the smaller size of the UVC LED, so the cabinet is quite smaller than to put the N95 max. And the price is comparable, but for my UVC germicidal lamp cabinet, because of the price during, I think it's during COVID-19 situation, so the UVC low pressure mercury Thai lamp, the price is quite high than the previous.
More questions?
Okay, thank you.
If you have no question, thank you, Prasita, for
Thank
your
you.
presentation.